Right now, at halftime, the Toreros trail the Tigers by 7, 37-30. Here to talk more about it is the UT's Mark Zeigler. Mark, congratulations, a belated congratulations on being named one of the top 10 columnists in all of the United States by the Associated Press. That is a big deal.
I am very honored, really honored.
Quickly, your thoughts about the Toreros' chances in the second half against the Tigers?
You know, it's a weird thing because you say on paper, zero chance. They didn't even know they were going to get in. I'm not sure how much they practiced. They had to get on a plane and fly. But sometimes in those situations, teams just go, you know what, we have nothing to lose and let it fly. They were down big. They made a little bit of a run. I mean, you never know.
The NIT's hard on the lower seeds because you're not traveling with no prep.
Right, but you know what? The thing about the NIT, it's all about motivation. Who wants to be there? And some teams don't want to be there. And the teams that
wants to be playing.
They do.
But while we're on the campus of USD, for such a little school, they seem to have your most recent article, I guess we'd file this under When It Rains, It Pours. Yeah. Is it Norfelt, the tennis player?
Yeah, he's a tennis player from Sweden. Before he got there, he apparently was betting on tennis matches, not his own. Because he plays the international tournaments, he belongs to the international sort of federation of players. They have a integrity unit that tracks these things. You're not supposed to bet. He was betting. I'm not sure if he knew he was supposed to be betting and just didn't know. And they caught him and fined him and suspended him. And so he's provisionally suspended at USD as well.
It's very touchy on the campus of USD because it wasn't that long ago that Brandon Johnson was caught up in the point shaving.
I covered that.
And the campus has to feel a little shell-shocked.
Yeah, and they've really kind of withdrawn on a lot of these issues, and we really don't know what they're saying, what they're thinking. They're not being as proactive about it as I think a lot of people would like. But it's tough when you're a small campus and you keep having scandals in your athletic department, whether they're your own doing or not, and you start feeling kind of victimized. But maybe there's got to rethink some things there.
It's important to note that this tennis has nothing to do with the admissions scandal, which it wasn't spelled out, but you were a little kind of led to believe that it involved a tennis scholarship. That is not the case.
No, they've said it is not involved the tennis program. That's what we have heard. And everyone's still guessing what it does involve or who it does involve because the university is not being very forthcoming. Some schools like Stanford, my alma mater, who was caught up in it as well, came out with an entire web page explaining everything, the amount of money, who was involved, how they're going to fix it. And other schools like USD has just sort of pretended like it doesn't exist. And so there may be reasons behind that, but we don't know.
I feel bad for the coaches who are guilty of nothing and are kind of getting painted with this brush of
And also, I think this is so widespread that as you go across the country and we go in further into time, I think you're going to find other schools are involved in this. I think a lot of schools are involved and hundreds of kids are involved. And these 8 schools have been targeted by the feds right now. But I think it's not going to be just them.
Tip of the iceberg. All right, so another recent article, you talked about the Aztecs and their basketball program. Should it be an expectation or a goal to make it to the NC2A tournament? Under the Steve Fisher era, it was an expectation, but now you pointed out to the mathematics of it all, maybe it should go back to being a goal. A season goal. Can you explain your article?
Well, I think there's a difference between goals and expectations. Everyone has a goal. The baseball team's goal is to win the World Series, and a college basketball team's goal in Division I is to make the tournament. Some teams even have higher goals than that. But when you're a mid-major school in the Mountain West Conference, the chances of getting an at-large bid are just shrinking every year. And they have, mathematically like a 1 in 200 chance. They're grouped with a bunch of schools that don't get maybe 1-2 year at-large bids. And unless you win your conference tournament, which they've only done, by the way, once in the last 8 years, it gets very hard. So I'm just not saying that, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I'm just trying to point out that the realities of the situation that they're in.
I would say just winning those 3 games in Vegas are very doable.
Yeah, well, that's their best route to get in the NCAA tournament. And for most teams in a smaller or mid-major conference, that's the best way to get in. And it's unfortunate that more of the at-large berths don't go to mid-major in these Cinderella teams, but that's the way it's set up right now.
You were part of the Green Sea on Monday night, were you not?
I was down there, yeah.
Talk to me about Dalton Hummus.
I'm telling you, he's a Division I player playing in Division II. Maybe even a professional player, maybe even an NBA player one day playing in Division II right now. It's really fun to watch. But, they have more than just him. They had a very good team coming back, and they have an excellent coach in Ryan Looney. They have a very good athletic director in Ethan Hamilton. That whole athletic department and that team are going places. They'll be in the Elite Eight next year.
And Sam are looking at this kid and saying, oh, geez, why does he play for us?
Well, the reason they're looking at him is because he could graduate this year at Point Loma and be a 5th-year grad transfer, not have to sit out at a Division I program next year. And trust me, it's not just those two schools that are interested in him. Big time schools are. I don't think he'll end up at a Division I. I think he'll try the pro route first, but I don't have any great information. That's just my sense.
All right, we asked you to pick your Final Four. We'll throw the graphic up. Quickly, can you just go over you picked Duke. That you went out on a limb, huh?
Yeah, really, that's really inspired. Look, Michigan's a very experienced team with a great coach. I think they're the best team in that region. Now, Villanova, a little bit of a flyer, but I think, it's hard to knock out the champ, and they're in a really soft region with a lot of teams that I think are flawed, and they've been playing better lately. Carolina might be the best team in the country right now. I think Duke's going to win it all.
Well, we got the video, so obviously when you have the best player, arguably the two best players. Some would say three best, but the two best players, you're going to win the tournament, right?
Well, I think there was some hesitation, when Zion got hurt. When he came back and didn't miss a shot, okay, he's the best player in the country and he's healthy, so I think you've got to go with that.
All right, so I wanted to see if you saw these pictures. This is FC Cincinnati making their home debut.
Yeah, look at this.
In the MLS. Is this scene, man, you would have thought it was a premiership game. Will we ever see a scene like this here in San Diego?
Yes and no. Yes, if they build a stadium. No, if they don't. I mean, you got to build a stadium first. They're playing in the university's football stadium right now, and they're going to build their own. But, you see this. There's pockets of soccer fanaticism in this country, and this is one of them, and I think it's here too. The one thing is, you'll see how it goes down the road when they realize, they were a very good USL team, but what happens when they're, in 8th place in their division in MLS. I still think the fans will come.
You are a downer, man.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's easy to come out the first game, but I think in Cincinnati it will sustain. I think there's a big enough market there.
All right, what's next on your docket? What are you working on now?
NCAA tournament. I'm going up to Anaheim next week for the regional and then the Final Four. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Best time of the year.
Absolutely, especially for a guy who likes college hoops, huh?
And I like golf, too, and Masters around the corner. So.
All right, coming up on the ASR tonight, we have 4 prep stops, and Mr. Mike Costa is in studio. Next, we'll be talking about Mike Trout's mega deal coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Until then, the KUSI News at 6 p.m. is about to begin.